This phone has been a lot better than I expected. I've been following the Minimal Phone company for over a year. Even when the Minimal Phone was first announced, I was keeping an eye on it. Every update, every further in the progress of the production of the phone, I made a video about it. If you haven't seen any of those videos, I'll link the playlist above. But with that being said, earlier this year, I decided not to back the project. I didn't pre-order a device, and I kind of just sat back and watched everything unfold. With all the recent reviews coming out, and to be honest, a lot of them were quite negative. I think there have been a few positive reviews, especially from those in the community who knew what they were getting into. But with all of these reviews, I got a little bit curious for myself. As somebody who is a physical keyboard enthusiast and a BlackBerry fanatic, I needed to get my hands on the device. Plus, I do like ePaper and e-ink devices as well. So I decided to purchase the device secondhand. Somebody was selling one on eBay and I decided to pick it up. Luckily I did, because at that moment I had decided to go back to an iPhone 13 mini, and this was a terrible decision. Last week I was spending 10.5 hours on my device, mostly doom scrolling and watching YouTube videos. So even as somebody who has been going through the process of living a more digitally intentional life and kind of trying to break the cycle of doom scrolling and binge watching, I do have slip-ups here and there. The journey's not linear. I can definitely affirm that. But when the Minimal Phone arrived, it arrived at the right time. But with that being said, I wasn't ready to go cold turkey and go to a full minimalist device either. I wanted to be able to move all of my applications onto a different device with a little bit more friction. And this device more than delivered. The Minimal Phone does have an ePaper display, and this will slow you down quite a bit. If you're somebody who's not used to this style of display and you're coming from a standard smartphone, it can be a bit jarring. But as somebody who's used the Books Palma quite often in the past, I knew what I was getting into. And honestly, the Minimal Phone company has done an excellent job integrating the physical keyboard with Android. So with that being said, I downloaded all of my apps that I had on my iPhone onto the Minimal Phone. And I did change the default launcher. The Minimal Phone launcher is fine, it's minimal. It is text-based, so it is more difficult for me to see. I prefer icons personally, so I went with the Niagara launcher. With Niagara, I'm able to put my top favorite applications as icons, and the rest are stored in the app drawer. I also do like the option to hide apps that I don't want easy access to. Now straight away, I noticed a big decline in my on-screen time. I went from 10.5 hours on an iPhone down to about an hour and a half. That's huge. The big reason for this, again, is the ePaper display. If you're trying to doom scroll on applications with dynamic content or moving images, videos, or anything like this device is not the device for you. For example, I tried watching YouTube. The refresh rate was terrible. I knew this was going to happen. I had the same exact experience with the Books Palma, so this helped me break the cycle and be a lot more intentional on how I use my device. If you're somebody who's looking to switch devices just to have the keyboard and do everything like you were before, you may be a bit disappointed. But if you're looking to really reduce your screen time and still have the full functionality of a smartphone, this is an excellent choice. Now, I saw in previous reviews there were a lot of bugs, and I think most of those bugs have been more or less ironed out. I did notice some bugs here or there, but I think they're mostly software related. As far as the hardware is concerned, I only had one issue that was hardware/software related, and this was my fingerprint reader. Now, the fingerprint reader was working fine for the first week, and then after a week, it suddenly stopped working. I thought the fingerprint sensor was broken, but in fact, for some reason, my fingerprints had been removed. I wasn't able to unlock with fingerprint, and unfortunately, when I tried to unlock with the pin to unlock my screen, that was no longer working either. I don't know why this happened. I had to restart the device, and then the pin was working afterwards, and I had to re-add my fingerprints. I added the same finger multiple times, so that way I can hopefully reduce the chance of it being deleted in the future. I don't know if this is a known bug, but that's the only major bug that I had. I did have one instance where it was blinking and restarted on its own. I don't know if this was after updating certain applications. It kind of just happened in the evening. It didn't really bother me, but I just found it a bit strange. As far as how the device is hardware-wise, it does feel like a piece of plastic because it is. There are different textures of plastic on the edges. There's more of a texture to the plastic, making it more grippy in the hands, which I appreciate. The back is a little bit more smooth and slippery and is a fingerprint magnet. I am going to order a skin for this device because I think that will improve the slipperiness of the back of the device and also stop showing so many fingerprints. As far as the screen is concerned, it's like any other ePaper device. There is friction, of course, when you're sliding your finger up and down, and I think this friction, literally, will stop you from doom scrolling. It's not as appealing as a glass slab. Your finger doesn't slide as easy, you can't zoom in as easy, and of course, having an ePaper display just makes it a little bit less attractive. There are some downsides of having an ePaper display for important documents or images that you may need to see. For example, I received an email with a PDF attachment that had some elements in there that I just could not see. No matter how much I zoomed in, it just wasn't picking up on the ePaper display, so I had to look at it on my computer. I think this is a positive because it really made me think, do I need to be looking at important emails on my phone all the time? No, I could definitely use my computer more often for situations like this. The one thing I like about this device is having those extra add-ons that you don't necessarily get with other minimalist devices, such as having access to Google Pay. I'm not somebody who pays with my phone in general, but I do keep a lot of loyalty cards and passes and things that I want to have easy access to within Google Pay. But if you're using another device where you have to sideload the specifications, they may not work. NFC does work on this device, so you can recharge things such as transport passes. I've used other services such as location, and it works fine with any navigation apps that I've used so far. Of course, you have to keep in mind that it's going to refresh. If you find that you need to get rid of some of the ghosting, they do have a dedicated refresh button on the device. I have found with long-term use, as somebody who primarily uses dark mode on most of my devices to help my eyes and help me see things better, I find that light mode works a million times better on ePaper or e-ink devices, and I switched all of my applications to be viewed in light mode to avoid any unnecessary ghosting. This does run the risk that I can't see certain things, but that's the risk I'm willing to take in order to enjoy the reading experience just a bit more. And speaking of reading experience, you can download your reading apps onto this device, whichever one you choose, of course. And I tested a few different ones and I found that I had the same experience no matter which app that I was using. I do like that you can read on the device, but I still prefer an e-reader because I am visually impaired and I have to make the text super extra large, and this screen is really not that big. I can read in a pinch, and I think it's nice to have if I have to pass some time and really want to focus on a book within a short period of time. I don't think I'll be reading full books on this device, but if your vision is better than mine, you probably could. With that big caveat, I want to point out there is a significant difference in regards to reading on ePaper versus e-ink. I was reviewing the Mudita Compact last month, and I can see a clear difference between an e-ink panel and an ePaper panel. For those of you who don't know, e-ink is a proprietary name and technology, and with that comes a heftier price tag for companies to use that specific panel. ePaper can be generic and is manufactured by multiple different manufacturers. There are varying levels of quality, of course, and I find that this ePaper panel is really not bad. I compared it to my other devices, which are e-ink. I do notice there is a larger distance between the screen itself and the panel, which can cause some shadowing or a little bit of fuzzier text, if you want to say. But you have to be really close and really nitpicking the device to notice these differences. It doesn't cause me any eye strain or any difficulties in doing day-to-day tasks. It's just something that I notice because I am quite a heavy e-ink user. Now getting to the nitty-gritty, the keyboard. This is the major reason people choose this device maybe over other devices. For those of us who are quite big fans of BlackBerry, and I know myself personally, I have a lot of thoughts and opinions when it comes to physical keyboards. As somebody who's visually impaired, I think devices need to have more buttons and more keyboards in general. It makes it a lot more user-friendly. I make a lot less mistakes. And if you're able to add shortcuts and open specific apps with keyboards, this could be life-changing for those of us who really can't see the app libraries as easy as others. I found this keyboard a pleasant surprise. As somebody who has a preference for the BlackBerry Q10 as my all-time favorite keyboard, this is just a preference. I have a personal attachment to that device. I just love how the keys are set up. It just is my preferred typing device. I would put the minimal phone just underneath, to be honest, and I'm surprised at that. I would put it above the Q5, and I really like the layout of the keys and the distance between the keys. Again, as somebody who can't see very well, once I know where my keys are and my letters are, I can feel where I need to click, and that's really all I need. After about a week of using the physical keyboard, I noticed that the speed has greatly increased, and I'm kind of back where I was back in my BlackBerry days. I feel at ease, I'm making a lot less mistakes, and it's exactly what I need from my keyboard. The only downside is I haven't quite mastered the multi-language settings. I do type in French a lot of the times. You can activate the option to hard press to get the specific accents, but if I don't switch the language of the device to French, for example, the autocorrect with my language will automatically change the words and the accents will be removed. I can also get around this by typing my message in another application and copying and pasting it, but that does take extra time. And that's what this device is, essentially. It is adding extra time to do tasks that you used to do mindlessly fast. It slows you down a bit, and I see that as a positive. It really gives your brain time to think, do I need to do this? Do I really want to do this? And it really helps me be a lot more intentional when using any application. I find not having any visible colors, anything that really attracts me and drags my brain in for quick dopamine hits, has been amazing. I really love this experience, and I always forget how ePaper and e-ink really affects how our brains absorb that dopamine and how every device or every application has teams of people behind it to really drag you in, from the colors they decide to the design to the notifications. Everything is set to pull you in and keep you engaged. And ePaper and e-ink kind of break that. Honestly, my brain is like, well, this is not very attractive and interesting. I'm just going to get in and get out. One of the major hot topics of this device is the battery. I know myself included, with it being an ePaper display, I was expecting a long-term battery. And after reviewing the Mudita Compact, which I got a crazy amount of time from, even more than Mudita had claimed to get, I was expecting a lot from this device, and honestly, it's not bad. I was expecting the worst after seeing all of these reviews of people saying they got maybe a day out of the battery. If you're using this device as you would another smartphone and you're on it all day, every day, multiple hours, either for communication, Bluetooth, location, that is going to significantly drain the battery just like any other phone. But if you go into using this device and putting certain things and certain settings in place, you can extend the battery life. I've been able to get 3 to 4 days so far. Again, I'm using this phone about 30 minutes to an hour and a half a day maximum. If I'm making a video call, for example, I made a 20-minute video call on WhatsApp, that took about 10% of the battery. So keep that in mind. If you're using Bluetooth along with that, it's going to reduce it even more. And of course, location. Also, a good tip to help extend your battery is to turn the backlight off. The beautiful thing about ePaper is that you don't need a backlight all the time. It works fantastic in well-lit conditions, outdoor conditions, and you don't really need that backlight on. Same for the backlight on the keyboard. You can turn this on or off as needed. I find to keep it off as long as possible until, of course, I can't see anything. In the evening, I generally turn my phone onto airplane mode. I don't keep it on for emergency situations, so again, this helps save the battery. With these things in place and just using the device in general a lot less than a normal smartphone, again, I can get 3 to 4 days on one charge. Globally, after using this device for 1 week, I am super surprised how much I like it, and honestly, it's been a perfect fit so far. Will it be my forever phone? I don't know. That's something to be seen. I'm somebody who's extremely addicted to smartphones, applications, and anything to do with devices. I know and recognize that I'm in the honeymoon phase of having a new device. I'm somebody who's also addicted to devices, and I need to try to break that cycle of being excited, getting bored, and getting a new device. So there's a lot of things to work on from my side, but so far this device has been working out excellently, and I really can't complain about it. For those of you who already have the minimal phone and have some tips or tricks, especially regarding the language functionality, let me know down below. I'm really curious to see how your experience is going. And I want to give a special thanks to all the channel supporters. Without you, this video would not have been possible. And thank everyone for watching, and see you soon.